Hey everybody, how's it going? Super excited to be here today. My name is John Karras. I'll be taking you through our monthly product webinar. I'll be joined later today by Ro, who's our head of our onboarding team. I lead our product team. So in today's session, we're going to go through our Flows templates area, and then Ro is going to be taking you through our new connectors in Flows. All right, let's jump in. So as mentioned, we'll take you through our templates area and flows. I'll give you a quick overview and then we will jump into a nice demo. And then Ro will be taking you through our new connectors and go through a couple of use cases and give you a demo over there. And at the end, we'll have a live Q&A. All right, so what are Flows templates? Templates area and Flows is really a great way to get acquainted with flows, start learning the structure about how flows can get created, how things are organized in there when you want to do different use cases, and also see how to use various connectors. So we have a few to start. We group things by connector in there: Google Drive, Google Sheets, for example, Google Contacts, and of course, Knack. So it's a great way to get acquainted, great way to understand what Flows is all about if you're new to the integration and automation space. A few examples here for you. So Google Drive, right? Very popular tool among businesses, small, large, personal use, business work. This is a great tool for you to connect to, right? If you have files that you're either storing in Google Drive and want to connect to a Knack record, and vice versa. If you have files or images that you have in Knack records that you may want to add to a Google Drive, we have a couple of example flows that you can use and see to help you understand, hey, how can I make that automation seamless and create a flow that can automatically get information from one place to another. Another example for you, Google Sheets. Super popular tool, free to use, very popular among small companies, large ones as well. This is another good scenario. Now, a lot of folks come to us at Knack from a spreadsheet tool like Google Sheets, and they've outgrown it. So this is a great way to kind of keep one foot in your Google Sheet area, but also get data into Knack. We have a couple templates here for you as well. We'll go through those where you can take a record from Knack and put it into a Google Sheet. Now, probably the main one where I expect most of our customers to be getting involved and wanting to see more examples and use these templates is really Knack-to-Knack scenarios. So automating right within your Knack app, right? Maybe I want to take records when a record's updated. Maybe I want to stamp a last updated field on that record. Or maybe I want to do a search in my invoices table and find all the related line items. And then for each line item, I want to take an action on it. You can start doing these simple and also more complex flows and see them in our Knack-to-Knack connector template area. So these are a couple ways that you can, a couple tools that we have for you to be able to understand, hey, what are some of the structured templates that we have? What are some of the common connectors that our customers might be using? And also, where can I get acquainted to flows? So let's go a little bit deeper on this Knack-to-Knack one. Now, what I'm about to demo to you guys is a project management app use case. Now, imagine we have multiple user roles in there and they want to progress a project. And really the goal of this flow that we're going to build is every time a status field changes, then we want to stamp or overwrite this status last updated field with the specific time that that status changed. There's a great way to do this. I'll show you it. And a couple things that might be coming to some of our more seasoned users' minds right now, right? Hey, I can do that already with a record action. Yes, you definitely can. And that is a great tool that Knack has already available. Couple pros and cons, though, about flows versus record actions. Record actions, right? You have to apply those on a per page basis, really a per view or element basis. So if I have a form in a page for my project manager role, I would have to, and then I have other pages for my customers, for my admins, for my employees that are also taking actions on that project record. I would have to duplicate uh, that record action multiple times across multiple pages if they're not all using the same area, same page. Now with flows, all you'd have to do is build that one flow and it applies at the data layer. So it doesn't really matter about the page layer, it applies more at the data layer. Another aspect too is that flows trigger across all areas of your Knack app. So whether you're in the builder area on the back end, whether you're using APIs, or whether the most common scenario is when you're in the live app, our record actions, they only work from the live app. So that is another thing to keep in mind. Both of these tools, your flows, your record actions, they provide you ways to do fine grain field checking. You can trigger it only when a specific field changes. And if you really want to do something quick, simple, boom, record action might be the way to go, especially if you only have one page or one element or one role that you want to listen for changes to. So, all right, let's go ahead and jump into the demo. So here I am in my project management template. Now, for those of you that have not maybe seen our next gen app experience before, this is what it looks like. Some of our existing customers are already getting into it. We'll be rolling this out. Most of our customers are going to gain access probably in the next few weeks. And you'd be able to have the ability to switch back and forth to the classic version of your Knack app by just clicking this little button here. So I can easily toggle back and forth between them. For newer customers, you'll likely be in this next gen experience only. So let me take you through a little bit of this app structure. This project management template app is directly available in our templates area when you're creating apps in your account. So I have a couple tables here. The main one we're going to be focusing on today is projects. I went ahead and added this status last updated column in here because I know we're going to want to be stamping time values into it. A good thing to keep in mind is the value that we're going to be stamping is dependent on the time zone that you have set for the app. So just keep that in mind as you use this. We have a couple other data tables here, and then the other user roles that we have are I can see all my users, and then I have an admins area, project managers area, employees, and a customers area types of roles. And then really the pages is where it starts to become more important to understand if you want to do flows or a record action for this specific scenario I'm going through. So in this area here, right, I have a admin area where they can do different things. And then I also have a project management area where they can do different things for the project. On this table, right, what I want to do is be able to say, hey, anytime a record updates on the projects table, then I want to stamp a value in there of status last updated. So I already have the flow turned on. Let me go ahead and show you guys what this looks like. So I'm going to go to my live app. I've already signed in as one of our test users, and I'm going to go ahead and change this, we'll say this beyond the scale one, and I'm going to change that from pending approval to research and development. Now if I hit save, okay, great. And if I hit refresh here, we should be able to see that update. And there you go. So 9:54 a.m. and the date that I was doing this. So that's a quick example of it working in reality. Now let's go ahead and go behind the scenes and see exactly how this works. So I'm going to come back over here. I'll close out of this. And now I'm going to go into my flows tab. So I see this over here. I can see that, okay, in my main flows area, I don't have anything listed in my project management group. So this is where you can build flows from scratch, or if you select the template, it's going to bring you over to our other tab here. Now in my area over here, you're likely going to start in the My Installations, and yours will probably be empty because you haven't started, but you can explore all of those templates that we have available in here. So as we mentioned earlier, we have a couple different connectors where when you click on more details, you'll see a little bit about some of the example flows that we have within them. So in Google Drive, we have two examples where I can take a file from my Knack record whenever a record is updated in my Knack app, then I can go get that file from the attached record and put it in Google Drive. Or we have the vice versa scenario, which is whenever I have a file created in my Google Drive, then I want to go get that and bring it into my Knack app. So that's a good scenario as well. I'll take a look at Google Sheets, and you can see here some details. So I want to go from Knack to Google Sheet in this one. We can go into more details there. And you've got a Google Contacts one as well. Whenever there's a new contact, we want to either create a new one or update an existing contact in Google Contacts. So this is a little bit more of a complex one where it will be showing you how to loop through and check different pieces and say, hey, when a record's created in Knack, I want to search for that record based on email or name. And if it exists, then update it. If it doesn't, then create it. But the ones that we're going to focus on today are the Knack connectors. So when I come in here, I can see that I have a couple different options. So we're going to focus on this one with Knack in the last updated field. Another one which is a little bit more advanced, but really important, especially with Knack's relational database, is being able to search and find multiple records and iterate through them. So this is a great template to look through as well. We'll probably do another deeper dive on that one. So I can go ahead and hit install, and I'm going to toggle this one off for now and leave just this one on. I'll hit continue. And then I know I'm going to be using my project management template Knack app. And then over here, I'm going to choose the specific table I want to operate in. So I'm choosing the projects table. Now I can hit continue here, and it's going to set it up and configure it. It's still going. And we have a piece here that gives you a little update, and it says it's ready to go. Now that you have it created and available for you, now what you want to do is go ahead and set up your specific details. So you're going to have a structure in here, and you can hit this little gear icon, and that is going to go ahead and take you into the steps area. This is a relatively simple one, and you can see your steps in here of a first step here and a second step here. Another thing to point out is this tutorial button. So you do have a nice way to see how to use templates in Flows if you ever got stuck or wanted to see a little bit more about it. Okay, back to it. So last updated field. Now the specific scenario that we're going to do is you can either start by looking at record created or updated. So this is nice if you want to have that timestamp occurring in either scenario, right? Whether it's a brand new record, you want to stamp it, or an updated one. Personally, I want to swap this out for this scenario because I want to show you guys a little bit more of an advanced feature of how to filter for a specific field changing. And I'll show you guys how to do that. So you can delete it, and then you can come in here and click Knack and click when a record is updated trigger. And I'm going to go ahead and use my project management template app again, and then I'm going to go into my projects table. All right, great. So we've got that set up. And like we said in our scenario, right, we want to listen for when the status field is updated. So the way that we can do that is say conditions. I'm going to add a condition over here. And the specific field I want to listen for is actually going to be listed in this area. So I went in here for my record updated. I'm looking in here in my updated fields in this ID area. I want to say, hey, is the field that's been updated, the list of fields, does it contain the status field? So I'm going to take that and I'll say, great. As long as that status field changes, I want to make an update. I can go ahead and change this and say when status field changes. And now that it's just a little custom name for you, and you can get a quick reminder about what the table is that you're operating by clicking that. And now we'll go to that second step of our flow and see update record. Okay, now what do I want to update, right? That's really the main piece. So the record ID that I want to update, I obviously want to update the same record that fired. So I'm going to come in here for my step 1 and say, okay, I want to use my record ID. Now, what other value do I want to populate? I want to populate this one, status last updated. Now, this is a pretty nice trick that we have here with system settings. You can come in here, and this is a step or an area that's always available for you. You can find date, time. I'm going to use date and time because I want to stamp, the date and time into it, the full stamp. I'll hit save, and then when I do that, everything should be all set here. I'm going to go ahead and hit, let's say round 2. We'll hit start, and now that flow is going to be on. I'm going to go ahead up to my history up here, and I'm going to change my group just to be all groups, and we'll go ahead and see if we can find this example in here. So you can see my last updated one from earlier. Now we're going to show you exactly how to do that with the new one, and let's see if we can get it to fire. So I'll come in here, I'm listening for the status changes, and I'm going to change this one to in production. Let's see if we can get it to work. All right, I'm going to go ahead and reload it. One more quick check, and there it is. Okay, 10:03, you've got it, seeing it right there, it updated, and you should be good to go. And if we go back in here, we can see actually that both records fired, last updated field, and then we can see it here with our round 2 updated as well. So there you go. All right, I'm going to hand it back over to Ro to take you through a few more details on our new connectors.
Awesome overview. Thanks, John. Hello, everyone. My name is Ro, and again, thanks for connecting with us today. I'm going to be diving a little bit into some of our new connectors here, but just in general, as an overview, we are starting to see that SMBs and enterprises are connecting and using anywhere between 253 to 473 apps in their operations. So you'll see a lot of new connectors that are being added to our database into our Knack Flows. We've got Jotform, Dialpad, Cognito forms. You're seeing them right there on the right-hand side. But all of this matters is because we know you need to connect with other tools that are important in your tool stack. So we are going to be diving into Craft My PDF. It's an important workflow. People have wanted to connect their apps to PDF generation type tools. So we're going to dive into this one specifically today. I'm going to show you something that many people have been waiting for, which is taking your data in Knack and generating a professional PDF. What we're going to do is we're going to generate a service report complete with customer signature, your data from Knack, and then sending an email with a link, and then storing that link back in Knack. The entire process takes about 2 minutes, a couple minutes or more, and has the potential to save you guys 2 to 3 or more hours a day just on the manual work of completing PDFs. So let's dive into it. Okay, what we're looking to do today is work with Craft My PDF. So let's talk a little bit about PDF generation. Previously with Knack, you have to integrate with other tools to generate PDF. You can now do that within the Knack Flows feature. So we do connect to Craft My PDF. We also connect to Documentaro. Today we're taking a look at Craft My PDF. So in general, PDFs are great for professional documentation, looking to connect Knack to PDF generation. Some other wins that we're looking for are time savings. It's great for all of our customers if you need delivery of professional documentations. And another great reason for PDF generation is just consistent documentation if you've got regulatory requirements and things like that. So this is a great opportunity to learn about a way to populate your documents, your PDFs, utilizing our Knack Flows. And while we're using Craft My PDF, there definitely are potentially other ways that you can do this with Knack. And we talk about some alternatives here. talk about some alternative methods here as well. Knack right now, our flows feature has Craft My PDF and Documentero, and we have some others that are coming as well. But right now, we're going to go through Craft My PDF. But there's also opportunities to use Google Docs if you needed to do that and generate a document over there as well. So let's dive into it. We have a demo that we're going to go through today, and we're going to just work through discussing Craft My PDF. Our use case today is going to be an HVAC industry. So we're going to have field workers going out into the field, having that documentation or their tablets with their Knack apps open. And then they're going to be completing information as it relates to the work order. And then we want them to be able to hit submit or hit generate PDF, have that PDF be sent to an email for the customer, maybe sent to the team internally. But also they'll be able to capture a signature while they're out in the field too as well, and then have that also land in the PDF. So that's what we'll be going through today. So let's dive into it. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see my screen. We're going to first go through a quick demo just so you can see this in action. And then we're actually going to take a look at the flow and see how this is built and kind of go through how you would configure your Knack Flows to handle this type of workflow. So as you can see, we have a completed work order. We've got services that were rendered on this work order. And we want to go ahead and mark this complete and generate a PDF. So I'm going to just click my generate PDF option here. And with Knack, there are many ways that you could kind of trigger this action. I just chose a simple form and a simple yes, no field to say, hey, yes, that's going to trigger my event. More on that in just a little bit. So initially we won't see that information because it's doing its magic in the background. But as soon as I hit refresh, we should actually see a link here that says view my work order right there. And I can open that up. It's going to open up in a new browser tab. And you can see all of my work order details here with my line items, signatures, dates, and totals. So super cool. And then if we jump maybe over into my inbox and I hit refresh, I now have an email as well with that work order link as well. And I can click into that and also view this work order. So super cool stuff. So let's kind of dive into how this is built. Okay, there are a couple of things that you will need to make sure you have in place before you get started. And we won't dive too deeply into that today. We'll just cover it at a very high level. But one of those things you will need is a Craft My PDF account. So that is what we'll be working with today. So you want to make sure you set things up with Craft My PDF. And I think we will have already talked a little bit about this, but you'll see this information here. Make sure you set up an account and you grab that API key because you will need that when you are linking your account or your app to your Knack application. So jumping back over here, other things that you may want to consider and set up beforehand is just think through your workflow, think through how your app is built. We're looking at a services order type, work order type app that has different line items, and we're basically generating a work order that includes that information. You may have completely other use cases, certifications, documents that you want populated. So those things will need to be thought through. Make sure you have the proper fields in place, and then making sure when you configure things on the Craft My PDF side of things that you're able to map those fields to those documents. I'll touch a little bit up on that in a little bit, but we'll mainly be focused here on the Knack Flow side of things and how to set things up. But you definitely will have to have some pieces done before you get to these steps here. So we've got my Craft My PDF flow already configured here. So we're actually going to go take a look at this, and I'm going to hit pause so we can actually go through each one of these steps and see how they're set up. And then again, we'll dive into a little bit of my Craft My PDF, and we'll see how that is configured and how it's mapping to our Knack application. Okay, so I start the trigger here with a record update. We're looking at our work orders table specifically in our service management, HVAC service management app. And then that condition that we're using to kind of trigger things is when an update says, hey, generate my workflow. So as you remember, or In my live app here, I was on my services orders. I was taking a look at a specific order record. I triggered that based on a generate a PDF, and you saw that I had a yes no field set up here to allow me to start that. So that's what I'm using. So again, when I talk about having those fields available and ready for you to use in your Knack Flows, just make sure you're thinking through these types of things to help get started. So that's my trigger, and I'm using a condition here that says when that specific field generate my items, not generate my item summary, but generate my PDF is set to yes, that is when my trigger happens. So that's my step. Step 2 is getting into mapping your fields over into your Craft My PDF document. So I'm going to jump over to that page here, and we're going to go take a look at how things are set up in Craft My PDF. Okay, again, so keeping this very high level, again, you will need to create an account with MyCraft PDF, and then you'll need to set up your get your API keys to connect it to Knack. And then you'll also need to make sure you're uploading your documents inside Craft My PDF that you want to use for your work order. And then you're going to start to map those fields. So taking a look here at our Craft My PDF environment, you'll see I have different fields here that have been tagged in my document. I've also got areas for my service items. You'll see I have an area here for my totals. I've got an area for my signature. And so I'm basically just pulling these in here and doing a little bit of updating within the settings here to kind of generate where I want things to go for my Knack application into my PDF. So again, I won't dive into this tool. This is a completely different tool that will require you to do a little bit of learning and getting smart and educated on how this particular tool works. But once you've got things configured, it works quite nicely, as you guys saw in the demo earlier. Okay, so jumping back into our app here, I'm going to go into my step 2 to show you some of those configuration options. So one of the really key pieces that I want to make note here is this expiration of the generated PDF in minutes. So you will need to set this with Craft My PDF. If not, it expires. I think the default is 5 minutes, as it mentions here. So it'll expire. So if your users don't get to that link before then they will need to regenerate that. So to avoid that, you'll definitely want to be mindful of that and throw in that time of when you want that link to expire. So just a heads up there, crucial piece. So we've got some other pieces here. We've got my output file name. What do I want that name to be for the output file? So you have some options here to customize the actual name of the file, which is really nice. For me, I'm grabbing in the order ID number with a little divider and the customer name. So I want to see the output order ID and the name. You'll also see that I'm grabbing the approval date and time. I'm actually using one of Knack's system fields to grab that date and time. So that gives me my real-time timestamp when that gets submitted. And then I'm just mapping fields to the areas in my Craft My PDF document that I created over there. So I'm just mapping, dropping my work order number is coming from my service order ID in my Knack app. My assigned to technician record that's in my Knack database is dropped in the assigned to field, and then so on and so forth. So as you go through, you're mapping all of the different fields. I even created a field separately in my Knack app that actually does a summary of all my line items. So rather than sending each line item over individually one by one, I actually use a Knack flow to create this item summary to then drop that into a text field for myself. So again, address, street, your streets, your city, states, and zips, customer name, those are all the pieces. It's just mapping fields back to our Craft My PDF to make sure they land in the right place in our document. So pretty straightforward for our step 2 here. Again, if you're building out a certification, if you're doing invoices or quotes, you'll be doing a flavor of this with this tool. So my third step, now that I've generated my PDF, I've sent information over, I'm just going to do another Knack record update for this third step. So let's take a look at the settings here. So in this particular third step, I'm choosing my record ID from my updated record. So I'm saying, hey, this is the record I want to now update. Again, I'm grabbing some specific data points that are important to this use case. Maybe I want to capture when the last generation date was for a PDF. If we're doing it multiple times, we have to do versions. Then I want to capture that date. And then I'm also grabbing that generated PDF document. So if I take a look at my fields that are being returned from Craft PDF, and I'll scroll through this slowly, you'll see output file, you'll see some different things here, but I am grabbing my generated PDF document here, and that is grabbing the link. So what Craft My PDF will do is send you through the link, and I actually set this up with a link field. So in your Knack application, in your table, add a link field and use that link field to capture that link for that PDF. And it's really that simple. It's really that straightforward. And then I'm actually sending my generate PDF back to No. If you've been working in Knack like I have for as long as I have, you know, sometimes you have to build in workflow, build in ways to kind of prevent you from continuing to generate PDFs or continuing to have your flows run. And so this is just a way to say, hey, set this back to No once we're all done and said with everything. We've generated my PDF. I've sent things to where they need to go. Let's set this back to No. So if we're ever going back into that record or that work order and making changes, it's not going to trigger some kind of action in the background. So again, at the top of this, I was like, make sure you think through some of the things that you'll need. That's part of this process. So that is my third step. And then we have our final step, which is sending the email piece of it. So again, I'm going to jump into my settings for my email here. We're just using Gmail, and you will have options to pull in email fields from your actual app. For testing purposes, I was using my test account, and then I've also got my Knack information here on the from. If you guys are familiar with building out emails, you probably recognize some of these fields. You've got your to, your from, that email format. I will say, with a caveat here, if you're setting up your email body, it might require you to do some HTML. As you can see here, I'm using some paragraph tags. I'm also making my link a little bit prettier. If you remember back in my email that got sent, I had hyperlinked the text view work order, which you can see here. So I used a bit of HTML to help me kind of build out this email here. So you will have to do a flavor of that. And there's several ways that you can manage this. You can potentially build an email body with Knack, maybe using a text formula field, and maybe that text formula field is what gets dropped in here to avoid doing some HTML here. It just depends. But with this demo, I just added a little bit of HTML here, so it made the email a little bit easier to read. And then again, I can customize my subject line, and I chose to include work order details and then also build that out with the fields that were available to me. So that's pretty straightforward. And again, some of the things that you want to make sure you have done before you set up this workflow is making sure that you've linked your Craft My PDF account as well as your Gmail account. If you haven't done that already, that makes setting up this flow straightforward. But once it's all set, you can now hit start and test out your workflow. So a couple of things to kind of cover before diving in to just taking this through a demo one more time is some things to note when it comes to passing, let's say, that signature field through. Right. So if we go back to our order that we generated, we have this view, the work order, but we've also got the signature field. Knack will store that as an SVG file, which there is not necessarily within your application, an SVG file. And let me make sure I'm sharing my screen here. A couple things that I wanted to kind of point out that you might want to consider and go through as you're setting things up. Knack will store this signature field as an SVG file, and you will get the link for that, or you'll get not the actual link for that, but you'll actually get the code that's written up for that, like the markup. And so when you're working with Craft My PDF, it's going to take a little bit of tech savviness to make sure that you have this image showing up within your work order PDF. So if I take a look here at my work order PDF, you can see my signature shows up nicely here. So there is a little bit of work to have to configure that. And we'll include this in our how-to guide if you're building out workflow or building out a PDF generation that requires you to capture that signature. But if I jump back in here to my PDF here, you'll see my signature field here. I'm actually referencing this HTML enriched text code, which then is going to allow me to drop in that SVG markup. So over here in this raw HTML piece area, I'm doing some formatting to allow me to say, hey, make sure that this this signature fits inside this box here, and I can see the entire thing. So happy to share some additional details in our knowledge base around how to get this configured correctly so that you can continue to make sure you're getting any images or pictures or things showing up on your Knack application. But just kind of a heads up as you're building things out, when you're reviewing this and you're going, how did Ro make that happen? That was definitely not using the signature field here, not using an image field. It was actually using this HTML field, and knowing that when you are working in Knack Flows, when it passes through that information from your signature field here, that it is captured at markup for SVG. So then you will need to utilize that HTML field, and it actually works quite nicely. So just kind of a heads up there. I believe that is it. So if you guys would like to see that again, I'm actually going to come in here and I'm going to just update this, and I'm going to set some of my parameters back to 0 there and remove my link. Hit submit. I think my generate PDF is already set to no because we set that up in our flows to make sure it gets set back to no. So I'm just going to hit generate PDF. I'm going to mark this as yes, hit submit. And we're going to hang out here for a little bit. We can see my last PDF generation stamp there. We can jump over into my email and let's do a refresh on the browser. We see my new email here, and as you can see, my naming that was included in my email, that HTML in that email, my link to open up my PDF, and we can see our details there as well. And if I navigate back to my app and just hit refresh, we should see that link in our app as well. All right, so hopefully this information was super helpful for everyone, and you feel like you can now kind of tackle Craft My PDF. Our team's available to answer any questions or help, and again, we'll be creating a resource on this so that you'll be able to reference back not only this video, but also our written documentation around how to configure Craft My PDF. All right, bye everyone.